All right, you guys, I'm back here with David, Stig Hansen. He is, a researcher. And today, we didn't get enough. We didn't get to talk about enough yesterday. So we're going to go ahead and go through some dikes. And he's going to show me about, well, I don't even know when to call them dikes. They're not dikes. They're like
it's a problem. It's a problem. I'm
they're
looking at this
walls.
guy's YouTube video,
Yeah.
and these look very similar, right? Like, I don't want to say personally, half of me thinks this is created, and half of
Yeah.
me thinks this is natural geology. This guy is doing a video that's over an hour, almost an hour long. So I was just trying to get at some basic ideas about how dikes are formed. And what did I get? I don't want to play the video, but I think two things. And by the way, you have a bachelor's in geology or a master's
I
or
have a minor, like I did 3 years.
okay,
It was what I was
got it.
majoring in, and then I changed
It's
my senior year to different.
okay. What
I
was your
have my
major?
major and my master's is both in art history. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, I totally wanted to be a volcanologist. That was like my obsession, like from elementary school, basically. Or I've always been obsessed with rocks. Like you should see my rock collection. It's like will one day be a museum. And
Gotcha. Gotcha.
like I went in, started studying it. I didn't want to be a petroleum engineer is at the end of it. That's what it came down to. And there was no money in like volcanology really. And I just didn't jive with it the way they were teaching it pissed me off. Everything didn't make sense. I was too much of a, yeah, but how
There
do
you
you,
go. There you go.
why? And I
That
got so much
yeah.
unsatisfactory answers. I was also
Right, right.
astronomy as well. I did like a bunch of like 4 or 5 semesters of that, and like a bunch. I was really into physics, astronomy, and geology, and I did not like any of the answers I was ever getting for anything. And I just like how they explained what they were telling me. They explained it just at that point too, when I was in my early 20s, rather than fighting back, it just depressed me, and I just decided to move on from it. But now that I'm older, I'm kind of challenging it more, going like, yeah, exactly. And how like give me a live example of how you actually think this is formed. And I mean all, and I like I say a lot, I've said this multiple times on my podcast, but we are basically meant, like whether it's igneous or sedimentary or metamorphic rock or whatever you're talking about here, but all rock at some point in its lifespan supposedly was part of the the magma core of iron that we have in the middle of the earth, which we've only dug like whatever, less than 20 miles down underneath the ground. So I don't know. And we have 25,000 miles supposedly that the world is across. So it's just we don't know what's inside of our planet. So that's the first thing. Two is
Right,
that
right.
like you're talking about like the magma core eventually, depending upon the rate at which it cools and how long it's been out, depends on like it's got the same parent cell, the same base material, the same magma, just how fast it cools determines what mineral it is, and then how much time has weathered and entropy has happened to it determines what rock it is. It's just a story. It's a story like anything else, and it's just kind of stupid. And then the other thing is like when they start getting into the strata and the layers of stuff, and so then you're kind of going, so the older stratas are in the bottom, but yet that's next to the lava, like, so then how is all
Up
this stuff
top.
coming to the top?
Or sometimes it peaks out. Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
it peaks out, and sometimes you have these little dikes, or you have these things where this was overturned. And the way they explain the continuity of the layers and all that is just bogus. Not to mention, like I said, with carbon dating and all the, or even if you do the uranium dating, they're saying that like these things die in half-life. So like carbon it's 100%, and then it slowly dies in half-life, and that's how you can tell the age. But we just don't really understand whether all the way back to the 4.4 or 4.6 billion years old, and we really don't understand what we're talking about half the time. We don't know that there's a constant. We are assuming that everything has been constant the whole time, like the conditions of physics, the condition of gravity, the condition of our distance from the sun, like all this stuff. We assume that it's always been the same from our incarnation, and that's just like, I don't think that's what is. And I don't think that we have the ability to test these things. Not that I don't think that we should, we should try. We should always be trying to come up with new ways to figure out and test and challenge what's going on. But we have gotten to this place where we hold on to like you know, carbon dating, and everybody uses it when it's convenient for them, and when it's not, they talk about its flaws. It's just, I don't know, I'm a little bit jaded with the geology stuff. But so like that brings us back to the dikes. The dikes in New Mexico or the Southwest that we are looking at are, in my opinion, constructed walls that they're calling volcanic dikes. So let's go into that. What do you think?
This groove is interesting to me because it shows that the dike is weaker than the outer material. And there's a lot of these gaps in South Africa, but they're not vertical. They're like roads. They're like canals, but they're kind of like what I showed you yesterday at the top of that Pie Town dike. Like almost like, is it a road? Was it a canal? But that Pie Town dike thinned out. So I'm not trying to fool anybody. As far as it goes, lava goes into cracks, right? Isn't that what's happening? Is magma is going into a crack that already exists, or it's penetrating other hardened stone. So I kind of think that depending on that's what I'm getting, is that's what a volcanic dike is. So when we say that, how does it stretch out 13 miles? Oh. Let me go over a few slides I wanted to show you.
Where's this? Right here.
That is South Africa, and I'm going to get there.
Okay, what I was let's talk about this real quick. This is supposedly, this would be called a conglomerate.
Okay, let me just give you one other photo to know where this came from. They created a tunnel through it, and I got up close to it and took some pictures. Let's talk about this one first. It's a conglomerate.
Yeah, so here's my thing with that. Like if we're talking about the formation of rock itself, okay? So it's in the crucibles of the earth. It's like doing its stuff. And then it comes out far enough to where it solidifies. But then it just so happens to be mixed like a perfect cookie dough batter like this. That doesn't make sense.
I've seen lava rock my whole life. I know what lava rock looks like. And that is one solid color. Now, someone tells me this is a dike, a volcanic dike. Shouldn't it be all one solid color, or not a composite?
Solid material. That's what I'm saying. Like there's a cookie dough batter that's evenly mixed of, I mean, I don't know what kind of like rocks we're dealing with in here, but yeah.
Well, okay. So what about granite?
Well, granite to me in general, like, and I know that this is very controversial, but I kind of feel like granite is created on some level. Yeah. Just because of the fact that it's also a conglomerate. When you look up microscopically, it's just all these different like feldspar and quartz and whatever kind of andesites or whatever, or andesites are kind of granite, but it's all these different evenly mixed minerals put together in a very consistent way. And I just, something about that seems doesn't add up to me.
I don't understand it either, and I'm told it's igneous. Now this is the London Hammer, and it's in Texas. Have you
Yes, I have been to that Creationist Museum and seen that. And it's weird because I'm not a religious creationist, but at the same time, I'm not a fundamental like evolutionary, like the world is this amount of age and science either. I'm somebody who's just like, something's going on and we're not being told exactly what's going on. And this is a good example of it.
Oh, and by the way, is that a religious institution that has this?
Yeah, it's like a creationist museum where they just try to prove that the world's 6,000 years old.
Well, they haven't done carbon testing on that.
Oh, they have. Okay. Well, they
have not. They have not. And that's the question. Why haven't they? You know, obviously because they suspect that they'll get themselves in trouble, right? They assume maybe science will prove something that goes against their agenda. And I'm not worried about that as much. I mean, this thing, and I guess the shell was attached to it. They said something about the shell. They say that's sandstone in the email they responded to me. Yeah. And okay, so sandstone, I think, is very, very, this, like, it's easier than granite to maybe create. And I think this might be mining slurry.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to look at it. I mean, I always I also sort of, I don't know, like when I was in Arches in Moab, I had this thought about how maybe it's just like sandstone is solidified sand dunes or something of like where a solar flash or something just like fused all the sand together or
Vitrified it.
yeah, vitrified it at once. I mean, but then at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But like,
Well,
there's a lot of these
I came up with some interesting ideas about that white stuff, and I did a video, and I kind of went over the whole thing. This place, I finally got it saved. Was reading it right. What does
Where
it
is
say?
that?
This is, and I'll show you on the Google Earth in a minute. It's a road going through Cordova Pass in Spanish Peaks. That is the Devil's Stair Steps in Colorado, Spanish Peaks. I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about South Africa. I just want to show you some slides. I told you I'm back on Team Rashad for
Right.
Atlantis because of the canal that I found, and it points right there, and it's 50 miles long. You know about the Kalahari canals. This is 250,000 square miles. But I don't want to kind of get off track too much. But let's just note that something was going on a very large scale. And Plato writes about canals near the city of Atlantis that were approximately the same distance apart. These are like about a mile apart. And that's a lot. That one, I believe, is something called ancient overburden dumping. Like they did a bunch of work up on these Rocky Mountains, and these lines came out. They were dropping off overburdened, that same white stuff around the hammer.
That's so this
This is a theory.
Colorado
This is a theory at this point.
on top of, but what, okay, explain overburdening to people, like with mining, you're saying like
Overburden dumping.
they go, is it just like when they go through the stuff, they take what they want, what they don't want, they put.
Right. They process the materials. Okay, I can give you a great example. And I'm going to go to this mine right here. This is a diamond mine. You have three things that you always see. You have the strip mining, the pits. There's two here, right? You have a settling pond of some sort. There's two. One is lighter blue than the other. And they take the content out of here. They go and put it in the settling pond first, or maybe they process it first and then they put it. I don't know. But then when they're done with it, they dump these dumps right here called overburden dumping. You see them in every mine. They create mountains with this stuff. This whole new mountain was created by overburden dumping. You can assume that. You can see the dumps, the small little dimples are the actual dumps from the dump trucks, but then they have to take the tractor and they smooth it out. Okay. I don't know if there's any use to this blue here. Maybe there's also micro settling ponds they're using. Maybe they can still find a few diamonds. I don't know. And by the way, I do notice there are some weird straight lines around here as well. Wasn't Mike looking at something similar?
Yeah, in Canada, you just saw some like stone concretions or something that's very similar to that.
Right, concretions. Right. I think they're also
well, you know, I mean, when I went to saw a bunch of the Costa Rica spheres, you know, and a lot of people say those are natural too, and they're different materials. Like they're different kinds of granite within the same park, like right next to each other. Like those are so created, it's not even funny how created those are.
That, to me, that looks like if you're welding. Yeah. And how the piece of metal flies off. It's in a magma state when it's flying off, and it lands somewhere and creates anyways.
Well, sometimes I think of like those might be the like some of those some of the stone balls themselves might be the cannonballs of
Oh, I hear you. I know where you're going with that. So I already showed you this. See, and what I did, I wasn't sure because I'm never prepared. 23 feet. That's what those dumps measure at. Over at the Planetary Valley, the smallest ones are 200 feet. The smallest. Okay, I believe overburden dumping created mountains at this point. This thing in the Tibesti Mountains, which I'd love to go up and show you, this is just insane. These rocks seem like they were melted. This is gigantic. And these are like canals. And they're perpendicular from this main canal, which is totally perpendicular from all of natural. But when you get close up, and I don't have any good resolution, and I can go in there if you want to spend a minute, the Tibesti Mountains. Like I said
Yeah, please
yesterday,
do. So the Tibesti
I'm
Mountains
okay.
are,
I'll do it. I'll do it in.
that
Oh,
looks
it's
like a
hard to
profile of a little dude, like right there.
exactly. And let me show you. So where's the nose? Obviously, the nose is there. The eye is there, and look at the lips. Go straight
I
into
thought
the
that was
bottom lip.
I thought the eye, so the eye is the Imikuzi volcano or what?
That I don't know. It's a dark one, right? But I thought that the volcano's over here. But again,
Let me see.
maybe no, right
Go
here.
close on the
It's
eye
right
real
here.
quick.
Okay.
And then we'll go to the lips.
And when you see this different color, you're like, well, that has to be lava, right? If it's not lava, what is it? It's a volcano, right? I
Mhm.
don't know. Oh, you want me to show you the lips now?
That
Yeah,
looks
you
like
can't
lava
wait.
to me, but
Yeah. Well, this whole area, and by the way, let's go over here and say that this ridge, this has all been worked. When you look at this and you realize, and I'm not going to try to force you to look at that yet, look at this first. And you've got the dikes. Oh, by the way, this is the one that's you can see right there. That's
even just
not
that striations
natural.
of that does not look no, it doesn't look natural at all. That's true.
No. And when you get in here and look at what's happened to the stone here, I mean, let's get it so it looks cool. There we go. I mean, that what did they melt it, or is that carved, or was it hit by water for years? I don't think a flood would have caused this.
Yeah, but I mean, I almost
Whatever
think
they're
when
doing,
you zoom out too, it looks like there's that's where I kind of get into the plasma arcing of like the electric universe. It looks like there may have been some kind of I don't know, there looks like there's kind of some lightning striking that are not so much
well, okay, if
water,
you're
but more.
talking about like it kind of looks like it's been hit by lightning, and we talked about that as far as the creation of the Rashat structure, but this one to me definitely looks like they were
That's,
growing agriculture. I mean, just the shapes. Maybe these were canals, or maybe they were
I mean,
just
that's like a
water.
gridded city, honestly. That looks like an old gridded city.
Wait till I show you Algeria. You're gonna freak out. But I didn't want to spend all day on this. But yeah, now let's go over to this structure. I mean, obviously it's not natural. And the weird thing is these perpendicular lines, which I always call that a red flag. If you see a river and it has a bunch of perpendicular lines,
Yeah, that's pretty
then
strange.
it's possible. But then these are diagonals, 45 degrees, by the way, diagonals that don't meet the perpendicular lines, don't meet the main river here. You got all these diagonals in the, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not natural. Let's
That's,
just say it's not natural. And what happened here? Something megalithic, something really large. Let's measure that real quick, and to find out from here all the way to the other side. And that's just part of it. But I mean, now I've got to go miles, 11 miles. I mean, anyways, I was never trying to say now over here. Take a look at these. You can
see,
see a
from that
mixture.
macro
Like,
look, that all like instead of water, that really does look like plasma arcing. Like I mean, that looks like electrical markings.
well, I believe what we're seeing in here, if those are rivers, right? I mean, yeah, if the mainstream narrative says that was carved by water,
Like some of
but when you come over here
if
and
it's
start
got a
to
really
see these,
organic undulating thing, sure, water. But if it's like a lightning crack thing, no. And definitely not perpendicular lines.
right, and here you see those perpendicular lines I'm talking about, and that might have been a natural. As far as electric universe, I'm um, I'm not saying I believe the Rashat was created by an electric universe event, a Carrington event, right? I had a slide, but I didn't want to show it yesterday. I flashed it on the screen very now. Look at these dikes that you see here. Like that was a different project. That was like a maybe earlier time. And then somebody came in and started carving over them and on top of them. You see that? So you can see
Yeah.
the dikes. Are those volcanic dikes? I mean, that's why I have no ability in my brain to believe that what I'm about to show you in Colorado is
And these volcanic dikes, like
natural.
are these from super volcanoes that we don't know where the source of I mean, where is the volcanic dikes? Like, I don't know. I don't understand.
I don't either. And when you get into this mountain, you can see it was all machined and carved up in here. Do you see that? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't really. This is Tibesti. This is in Chad.
That to me does look like water striations. Like that looks like some giant, I don't know, like all the little water thing. That looks like
Jimmy was talking about all this stuff, but he didn't even talk about this. This is like the same. This is called the Eye of the Sahara, from my understanding.
I thought that
Uh,
no, the wrist shot was the Eye of the Sahara.
that's the Eye of Africa. This little area, by the way, I'm going to give you the countries so you can see. Let's put that down there. There you go. But you can see that this is Libya here, and there's a line separating Libya right there, and you've got the Tassili Najir National Park. Okay, first I want to show you what I found over here, which I already showed you the slide, is what I call the Matrix, because it looks like that scene from the Matrix where everything's just going straight up and down. This little area here, I think, was just, in my opinion, by the way, you can see some of the lines going at different angles up there, like they're little transport roads. I believe these dikes could have been used as transport roads. I believe this is overburden dumping from mining. And where were they mining from? Well, if we go back into the Tassil Najir National Park in Algeria, it's just insanity. This whole area, and we're looking, let me just measure it across the screen. We're talking about 76 miles here, but that's just really a part of it. And when I zoom out, I can find what I would like to show. I like to show this. And what you see is the pathways that were created by, I would say, the miners that were removing these rocks. And when you measure it, you can see that this big old crevice was probably put in there later. They were probably mined it first, and then this crevice, or the two crevices, this fork of river or water, you might even say electricity. But look what you see right here. You see a perfect rectangle. I showed this on David Dubine's channel. He did a quick interview with me, and we did some corner to corner measuring, and you can see the big rectangle here, and then you can see a small rectangle inside it. And by the way, I do believe when they get the overburden dumping, they pour it and they create these mounds on top of places that have been worked. Now, that doesn't actually really jive here, because usually you see a different color of material. So that looks like it wasn't poured, but I can show you all around here.
Or what if this is just like a giant New York City that was nuked?
Well, I hear that. And by the way, it was that lady Delia.
1 second, on Google Earth, can you go to the City of Rocks in New Mexico?
Sure.
City of Rocks, New Mexico. Because it
Never
looks
heard of
like
it.
it has those little, it reminded me of something we just saw there when I
Well, okay, so basically all these rock piles were some form of mining or sorting. The rocks that he showed in Mystery Rock, what is it called? He just went, wow. Yeah, so it
Okay,
looks like
so
it's been mined to me.
look at that. It looks
It
very
looks like
similar
it's been
to
mined.
me.
Yeah, it looks like it's been mined.
And
I
that's
I see
really
one
weird
line
about
right
me where that
away.
one is versus like there's
But
nothing.
well, and if it's part of the bedrock, then yeah, maybe they were mining, but it's very interesting. This one's tough because I see lines. Oh, I know what I was talking about Delia. And also I should give credit to Michelle Chen again, because she showed me this in the very beginning. She had a very astute eye. So when you go in here, this thing, I showed it in the slideshow, but this thing has been totally machined. And I showed you so the whole area has been machined. But some stuff's just kind of been ground down. And if you want to say that it was caused by a tsunami or some type of other flood, I'd say, no, I don't think so. I think when you get closer and closer to it, you start to notice the 45-degree cuts. Now, maybe it's not. Okay, so another thing
You know
is
what? I will say, for my own self, like when I look at like these beige pictures, the overview of Sahara, and it does look like a washing of a bunch of sand deposits, and then you hear of like all the sand that's coming from the Sahara every year. And then even when I used to look at pictures of the Great Pyramids, I used to think that that in between all the blocks was all a bunch of sand, and it just looks so much sand. But when you're there in person, there's no sand. There's no sand on the Great Pyramids. That's just like melted. I don't know. There's some sort of vitrification.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm so curious. Did you see any mortar at all? Great Pyramid,
No.
Second Pyramid, no mortar? Because
No mortar.
I thought I had seen some pictures of, I believe that the Sphinx Pyramid.
I'm sure. Like, oh, the Sphinx pyramid. The Sphinx. I would just even like the Sphinx is so reconstructed. I don't even know that you can take anything.
It's ancient Egyptian cement. There's a video I created that you really should watch. I know I have no business, the trolls told me, you've never been there. Save your opinions for after you go. Are you going to tell that to someone homebound in a wheelchair? You can't speak of the Sphinx. I mean, the point is that I
but
came up
but
some
the
pretty
no,
good.
but the thing about the actual Sphinx is like when you touch it and when you're like I was down there with it for like 2 hours looking at it like up close, and it's like most of what you're looking at is reconstruction.
Agreed. And I think the face itself is clearly a concrete structure. And the reason why I got in trouble was I said in Twitter, Graham Hancock, please stop saying recarved, because it's a concrete. I can show you 1800 images of the cement is decaying. You can see the limestone through the concrete. And there's no fossils in there. Okay, I'm done showing you this. I just wanted if you see this is all over. And as I said yesterday, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, who's between the two parallel canals, one of which I walked down, has a nose that's been constructed, I think, and it's saddled. It's saddled with this other mountain. And now take a look at if you align these like this. Take a look at the compass down there, 45 degrees. Is that indeed a previous axis of the Earth? I found one of my viewers found a mound in the Grand Canyon that also has that same degree. So I always look at the compass, and if it's here, I try to note it. And who knows, maybe it's upside down, so maybe it's the opposite, but I'm just saying it's 45 degrees. Okay, we're going to talk about volcanic dikes, and in South Africa, I found a bunch. So we finishing Algeria and this great. I mean, I could show you so much stuff in here that I've seen and wondered about. And let me point it north so I know where I'm at. I think there's one thing here that's quite notable, and it looks like a circuit board is the thing. And you can see these greater diagonal lines and how they kind of parallel each other. Were they just a main passage, or I believe this is a quarry field. I've never been there, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to go there, but it's on my bucket list of places to visit. And when you look at the photos that you see on Google Earth of this stuff, they're not, there's specks. And so they're not showing the same things. But when you see that line here and this line here, this is the place that I had this is like an ancient circuit board to me, but it's all squares. They're 10-foot squares, or 10 foot, I think. I forget. Okay, and look at this mound right on top of it. That's what I've got lucky, because that's what I wanted to show you from here, is how these little mounds, was that placed there afterwards, or was that carved down and it happens to be a different color? Yeah, I don't know. So my main theory is it's overburden dumping. They had to do something with it, and they wanted a mound. This area is crazy. It's a whole separate video. In fact, these two striations here, there's some crazy stuff going on, and you can see it like right here. And I don't want to say what that looks like, but you see these arches, and it almost looks like it's designed, but this is like a little floodplain area. But when you get in here, let's go to this one. They're all over the place. You find these ancient quarrying sites. There's that one that I showed you already. There, over here. These quarrying sites. Do you think that's natural? Those lines? I mean, if you really believe the canyonlands in Utah are natural, then you could probably justify these straight lines. But I believe that these were some kind of a weird
yeah, that's awfully hard to explain from natural geology. I mean,
and it's not that big. Okay, how about this? Is it modern day?
I mean,
that's another question we could ask ourselves. Yeah. This is miles. Let's go. No, let's go feet. See, this is not very big. That's only 225 feet. Men could have done that. But why would they? And I find stuff like that. Now, what I think I found in Algeria, men couldn't have done. Or maybe men could have done it, but it would have taken, like Randall Carlson said, hundreds and thousands of years. That's right here. There's quarries. I know it looks like it could be natural. That's not natural, and I can show you how. These lines are cut in geometric patterns, not just parallel one direction or parallel two directions, but three directions. And I know it's not perfect in there. You're not quarrying block when you do that. You're quarrying to get ore, maybe. This quarry on the right, they are taking block. I shouldn't put before after, because what I should say is non-block quarrying versus block quarrying. And then later I want to talk about this. This is South Africa. That's Lesotho right there. I showed it you yesterday, but all those lines are volcanic dikes. Or let me ask you this. Are they? Do you think that that looks like it's a natural? And you find this all over South Africa. This quarrying. And here's the mound in Grand Canyon that has the same alignment. I mean, was that a previous axis of the Earth?
Yeah, that's really weird.
I showed you that thing that was there that looks like it was artwork by giants.
That's just
That's
right
at the Rashad structure. That's
Okay,
I tried to go there and I
think
couldn't
that
get
City
there.
of Rocks that I just showed you looks very similar to that in a way. There's something.
Oh, I see. Well, I have to be honest. This one has straighter lines, I believe. I think this thing looks like a turtle. And I showed you this yesterday, but I got a good shot of it here. These straight lines that I used to say that's natural. Oh, it's so beautiful. But now I believe that there was some type of a scoring, an ancient scoring on the top of plateaus. I don't know why they did that, to scratch out and test. Maybe it was testing. I don't know. I can't say why. Mining.
Yeah,
And then
maybe
like the thing I just showed you, rocks.
they took massive amounts of rock. I don't know.
There's a lot of cities of rocks up there. This is not the top of the Adrar Plateau, and it's kind of halfway. Same with the Grand Canyons. I'll show you the Grand Canyons. Same story. The stuff that you find that's like this, it looks like they're taking out blocks.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know, honestly. Now here, this is crazy. As you can see, the orientation. I found this spot. It's like it's covered in sand, except it's exposed here, and down below there's one, and there's a little French fort right here. And I wanted to go up here, and this is where the landmines start to get into. But look at what you see up close. You see clearly is that the wrong way to say it? I'm going to ask you a lot of geology questions, but geometric. Would you call it geometric? I guess it's 3 different directions. They're parallel. And you can barely see them because it's Google Earth. I found this not kind of down near Senegal. I mean, it's all over Africa. And this is Utah. This is Utah. And that's when you say, well, if the City of Rocks in New Mexico can be a mining ground, then can't this also
Canyon kind of thing with like the number 3 looks like what they would call is like
they call them needles, I guess. And by the way, I don't believe that is even possible. That's their explanation,
right.
And for me, it doesn't work. And I tried to show you this yesterday, but I just wasn't finding the spot I wanted to show you, and I gave up. But as you can see, they're not parallel, but they're still. I mean, those straight lines there, I don't see how that could be natural. This is the same place, and that's the same place nearby. All these little maybe projects along the Colorado River where they're scratching out ore and using the river itself for placer mining. That's new. This is near the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
This is like right next to in Arizona someplace. I'm not hiding anything. I just don't remember exactly where. And do you see this perfect little triangle here? That's 3 directions of scratching. Is that really done by wind erosion?
No, I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean, like this all looks to me like intentional.
And in this project, obviously somebody had a little bit more capability here. I'm taking the role of conspiracy nut case. But look at that triangle. And then you see another triangle. It's clearly cut up. It's not for blocks. It's for, unless they take smaller pieces and turn them into blocks. I don't really understand. And look at this one. This is right by the river. So they scratch it down, and they create little micro rivers or something to get the material down to the water.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think what they do is they set up. That's why they use the Colorado River, because it was a pretty strong river. Let's just focus on possible placer mining near the Grand Canyon right now. Now this is in Namibia, but I think it's a really good example of what I'm theorizing here. You see these perpendicular lines coming away from maybe a natural river, maybe not. But they just all this work. It looks like a major. Namibia has some crazy stuff. This is near the Grand Canyon. So I mean,
Yeah, very
I
cool.
don't see how. And by the way, I want to say something else. The top of the plateau is untouched. It's the part that was naturally exposed previously that seems to have been touched for some reason. Why don't these lines go across the top in this case? I
Yeah,
don't understand
that is
that.
interesting.
This is in Madagascar, another dike. That one is 10 miles long. Look at this one. It totally looks like it was added on top of there. Where is this? I can't remember. Some of these in Africa are made with rocks. So
That's
maybe humans did create some of these. Yeah, what about this? Can you explain that, geology whiz? Go. This
nope.
is Morocco. And this is just like the Appalachian Mountains in the eastern United
And
States.
are those
I
dikes
think,
when you get up close to them, supposedly?
you know what?
That's as close as we can get.
No, we can get a little closer. Let's go. No, we're talking about Morocco. And when you go into Morocco, you can get about right here. By the way, Michael Hubner, he passed away. He's actually, I think, younger than me. He came up with a scientific paper that put Atlantis right here. Well, I mean, when you see these mountains, they're not hard to find. Obviously, the explanation is geology folded over time, millions of years of folding. But no, some of these actually aren't connected and they parallel one another. When you look at this thing, it looks like someone took a Sharpie pen and made a mountain.
Yeah.
I wanted to look up 3D house printing because the way they make 3D houses out of a 3D printer, it's like the chef's pipe bag that puts frosting. Okay, now this one, obviously the material is different here, You see this material and the material, which material came first or why is it different? It looks to me like it's the stuff that comes away from a mountain. It's got rained on and it's stained the color. That's a riverbed, right? But it never crossed the river, right? I don't know, but all I'm saying is that to do that, you'd have to have a big old machine that basically I can't explain those mountains. Okay, and I guess that's where the picture came from here. And it's one long line, right? Well, not exactly. Sometimes they stop. And there also the measurement, the width is always the same, Yeah, let's get in close. And it goes on for 70 miles or kilometers, I forgot. Another thing that I found is these usually are about a tenth of a mile wide, right? So that's a little bit bigger. That's pretty big then. This is the big example.
And there is shadow on them, so it does make it look like they do look like the kind of dikes that we're looking at.
Oh, maybe it's a volcanic dike.
Yeah, it looks like a volcanic dike to me, or what they're calling a volcanic dike.
Right, except this one doesn't go straight, does it?
Long.
And by the way, there's two of them here, right, side by side, and the outer one it goes there, and the inner one goes there, and I don't know. So when you talk about ship rock, there's a place in Morocco that's just a little more impressive. Sorry, I'm getting giddy. I'm giddy now. Morocco. These are the Atlas Mountains.
Okay.
Home of Atlas.
These are
I told you yesterday that the Adrar Plateau means little Atlas. It apparently translates into the Little Atlas Mountains. And let's go back down. I just want to say I showed you this. It's an easy one to find because of the notch. It's a channels that go up to the mountains. I showed you yesterday, and my mound is over here. There it is right there. But I want to let you know that there's more channels to be found. And there's a lot of other weird stuff. And not just inside. As you can see by the thing I showed you, there's these lines go inside Lesotho and then around Lesotho as well. There's all sorts. I believe like I said, if you're Anunnaki, this is the evidence for you. If you're into the Anunnaki theory, I think that this is a major sign of gold mine. And I'm going to try to show you this right here. I think this is a really interesting structure. You can find, that little man, that's gigantic right there. No, I called that, I gave it a name. The Siren of Lesotho. Koloniama, the Koloniama structure. You have what looks like it could have been a pit or a settling pond. And then you've got a road for sure, because you can see the tracks. They go through this upper plateau here. it keeps on going over here to a previous little project. But what I think this is I think they just mined it.
Like
And maybe
recently
these
or
trucks,
yeah.
no, those are houses down there. I don't think so. I think that this is a sign of something that happened
Yeah, that's a
50,000 years
really
ago.
interesting deal.
When you look at this at a 90-degree angle almost, not exactly, but you have this cut. It's a track, right? It's not, I mean, I guess they're going to call it a volcanic dike, even though it's more of a gap. And then you can see what humans did here. You can see the humans put stuff across it to make terracing so they could grow.
Yeah.
And look at, they were smart too, because the water goes down this way, not there though. It doesn't go around, but it goes, if you start at the top, it
That's
goes
an interesting
down
little
and then
circle
down.
right there.
Where's the circle?
There's one circle there, there, and there. There's like 4 circles. Do you see them?
I see them in the grass.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And I think that there's a buildup of soil and this stuff sticking through. Again, my white slurry theory, like this stuff, like they made tracks, like they were getting that stuff out, and they may have even had, like, look at how the little rocks are there. Do those little rocks look like you were put there on purpose?
It would
By
be really interesting to know if there were, when you get up close to these things, if there's like cart ruts.
This is 40 foot wide right here. I mean, you could put 2 houses in there.
Yeah, I know, but like
Let's
at the top of
measure it
some of
again.
these things, it would be interesting if they actually had, like, if you were on the top of that like rock plateau, if they had, if you could see like little cart rut kind of things on top of it.
I'm looking at these ruts right
Those are
there. I
huge.
mean,
Yeah, those are giant
yeah,
ones.
and okay, so look at the size of this right here. 165 feet. I thought it was only 40 or 50. So if you can imagine something that had to drive through there that needed 152 feet. But wait, when you get out here, you have them go thinner and separate. That's a shortcut going in a different direction, right? Also, you've got a shortcut going this direction. So I just believe that was like a little hub, and that's why they didn't mine it away. They're like, oh, we got to use this road. This is what I used to call a nub. It's this beautiful terraced piece of work along the ridge. I should find a new name for that. Maybe you can help me. And
Yeah.
also another name that I need is, what is that called? An amphitheater? If it's natural, I learned the term draw in the military, but the draws are just lines. Okay, and one more thing I want to show you about this before I show you something else is up here at the top, you seem to have an isosceles triangle right there. I'd like to go right there in the forest and see what's there, because it seems like it's going down and down, but there's no road after this. There's a river, but these rivers aren't like the Colorado River where they can actually help you sort mining debris. I don't know. And then again, the white stuff with the cut marks at the top of it. It seems like every time you see this white stuff, it's got cut marks. I could show you that in Utah too. And then you have more. Keep going down and you find yourself in the middle of this channel here. Let's look at that channel real quick. Let me just zoom up close to it. So this channel, again, 2 lines that go up to the mountains, but this one definitely has some 90-degree thing going. And it's almost aimed north, almost. But isn't that a nice sharp 90-degree?
Yeah.
And then when you back out, you've got the road that goes through it and goes up to that. It kind of disappears. I'm not going to lie, but then reappears and hits this channel. And that goes up to the mountains. And there's another road here that goes through it. I mean, it's just
Crazy.
I think I'm done. Yeah, there's a couple of things I could stay here for an hour. All these plateaus that have crisscrosses at the top of them. You go into South Africa and it's pretty easy to find as well. But the ones I want to show that are really haunting for me, yeah, they're always around water, right? And you can find stuff. There's dikes here. I'm going to show you a few dikes and how symmetrical they are. Okay, so the symmetrical ones. Okay, so as we back out of here, we have this escarpment, the great escarpment. It's right there, that line right there. And so when you zoom in here, look at these lines right there and tell me what you see. I mean, you're seeing symmetricity. You're seeing lines that meet peaks and nubs, and they're parallel.
Really interesting angles.
So that's why I have a hard time embracing. Look at that one right there that goes right here.
Oh yeah, wow. Yeah, it's just very
Here,
like
let's line it up, because these lines, they go on for miles and miles. One of
okay.
these things. Now, I think that as a human, I could have done that. I could have built up the dirt. It might have taken me a year, but what you see is this weird line that is like vitrified the earth on this side and vitrified the earth on that side. And over here, you see the line coming up. But by the way, that's a great example right here of what I'm going to show you in Colorado, the smoking gun. And let's get to it. Let's get out of South Africa. But there's so much to see there. And this is the place that has the north-south mountain. North-south mountain. Where is it? You got yourself a little mound. There it is, right there. It's right, but it's changed color. The seasons have changed it. But do you see all these lines?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get out of South Africa and get back to what I think is probably going to be the most exciting information. If you're up here in Denver and you take the 70 in and the 40 up, you get to Rand. And that's where you see right below Rand, you see those two peaks right there. You can see that it creates the continental divide. Maybe this is just a small project and all this other stuff's natural. Although I do kind of see a straight line going up and down here. You definitely can see the mountains and then the dike and then the mountain and the dike. And it's up here 10,000 feet, right? Not where the Colorado River begins, but nearby. Colorado River is going through over here. As you can see, this one was the big one that I didn't show you the video yet. I'm going to show you right now. Over here is so slight that I didn't even realize it. If we put the little man there, you'll go through, you won't even realize that there's something going on there. So it's just a pass. It's just a mountain pass. So I totally missed it. Maybe I should go back here and try to get some of this stone and find out where the main core is, the main middle part. And you can see it on the other side there. So this one I didn't even notice when I was driving. Mile 22 marker, 125, Colorado's 125. So I didn't even get video of that, but later on I realized that was the main one. This is the one that I got video of, and we'll just use the man real quick. And when you look at it, there was a pile of rocks here, concrete blocks that I looked at. I totally missed this. Can you imagine me driving by and just missing it? And it was because I was busy looking at these blocks that are down here in my pit. I got the video here, and it was snowing that day. There's the blocks. So that's just, to me, an incredible, like, I climbed up there in the other video too and got some up close pictures of it. And this is the stuff. And now there's a difference when it's broken off. It's a lot lighter. But one thing you can tell about this thing is those little circles right over here where those white blotches stay bright and separate. But when you're looking at the white stuff on the ground, this is not the good video for it. I'm coming down already. It was creepy to be up next to that thing. I got the creeps, because it could have like fallen on me.
Right. It's like crumble. It can crumble at any moment.
Well, and I was wondering, did the people that built the road, did they blast it away? Or was it, where is that? That's the beginning again. So the very beginning is really the best part for this. I mean, what are we looking at there? Composite, yes. But here it's like a white substance and then a darker gray substance and when it breaks away, it's all very, very light. So I don't know, can that be spit out of a volcano in the form of magma to create a volcanic dike?
I mean,
okay, so that's
it's
the
like
big
I
one.
have a bunch of up close videos of shiprock that it looks like there's tiny little seams and mortar in that's different. Like I'd
like to take a look at that. Have you
yeah,
have you released that yet?
Yeah, I mean, I took a ton of video when I was there, and I was just obsessed with the micro. I mean, like I like to look at rocks really close up. I even bring a loop and stuff. So I will.
This one shows it. Yeah, I also have a loop, but I don't do geology with the loop. I need to do that. That's a really good idea.
So, the latest
So this is the big one. That other one was thinner, right? This is bigger and thicker. And by the way, this was the south one, and the other one wasn't really part of those continental divide. Let me just point that out. The other one that I drove past, that I was driving past, is way down here. It's right there. So it's the line is right there. And you can even see it in here. It's cutting through here and cutting off a river again, controlling a river. And you see here at the top how this kind of goes down. I'm going to show you that next. It's part of my big theory. So this was up by the Colorado River area. And
So
I'd
you're
kind of
saying
like to
like
follow your
this rock
direction.
or this dike versus Spanish Peaks dike versus Shiprock are different material?
They're not exactly the same. Maybe the main stuff that holds it all together. I mean, how do you make concrete? You add now I forgot. Is it lye
In
and
line.
a
Yeah.
lime? You know what? I don't know. I forgot.
Yeah.
I want to show some stuff at Colorado. I think I'm done with everything else, so we can go there and do that next and last, unless there's something I'm missing or I forgot. The Appalachia, what was this? What was this one called? This is the so here we are in Spanish Peaks down, and this was where I drove through, and I showed that. Did I show it on the video? We started the beginning with this, and so this is a little different from that other stuff, right? This is the stuff up next to Shiprock I got. And a lot of it was glazed over and vitrified. So I had to find a broken piece. It wasn't easy for me to find that. What do you call this? Lichen? Is that a lichen? A white lichen? Or is that part of the composite?
I don't know. There was
And I think this is
that's something about a lot of these things. I think that we should definitely put into the scientific method here is the lichen and the moss that grows on a lot of these rocks that I think may have had manipulation is interesting. And then another thing to consider, and that I think more people should do is test the conductivity, whether the rock is conductive or not, because in Belize,
right.
the Jared Murphy kind of found that it was. So on some of the stones down there. And I wonder if that's a universal thing for anything that's constructed, if it has a different kind of connectivity than basically non-manipulated rock.
This is a north-south wall in Colorado in the Spanish Peaks. And I wanted to show you something that I saw on here, right? This little tweak. And I said to myself, wait a minute, where have I seen that before? And I saw another one that was just like it right here. That's one, and that's the other. Now, when it comes to the geological process of dikage, what would have caused that?
Yeah, that's
You're
weird.
talking about magma, right? You're talking about liquid heat going through and drove along the 25. And then I kind of found my way in the best I could. I think it's the 310. Yeah, and I think that at one point I turned and I think I went across here and I didn't get this shot. I should have. And of course, there's not going to be any man out there. So forget that dream. But what I wanted was this shot. And I have a video somewhere of this where I was standing here and I was looking at this and I was saying, oh, that one is going over that one.
Yeah.
This is the crisscross dike. And we talked about this yesterday a little bit. But let me show you what I just discovered and what I really think. If you look at this, do you see anything interesting about this? Let me make sure everything's north. But this kind of looked like it stopped and gave way for this. But wait a minute. What about the other side? Something different's happening here. The other side, it comes up. And let me see if I can get a better shot. It comes up and it meets the top. It arcs up.
Oh,
now, wait a minute.
Smart
How does it arc up? And then what are they dancing? It stops just in time and then maybe starts again here. I mean, if you can find a line of rocks there, then I'll probably take a step back in this line of thought here. But we definitely have, and I don't know what the angle is, let's say 30 degrees. We have a line of rocks along the top of it that greets and meets and butts up against this stop right there. I mean, look at it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call this the Stig butt up effect, or the phenomenon, the Stig butt up. Anyways, I'll name it later. But then that one goes there, and look how they kind of stagger. Like this one moves over to the right, and this one starts over on the left. Like they want a river to go through there, or water.
Yeah.
This is where the road went through. I don't think they would have cut that road there. Why would they start cutting mountain away to make this road when they could have just gone around?
Yeah,
So
that's
I
that's
believe that that road was a natural choice. Maybe they blasted a little bit out of the way, but if I could have gone around, anyways, back to my point, which is the Stig's crisscross phenomenon in Colorado. The other one does the same thing, but it's exactly the opposite. This one, that side comes up and butts right up to it and meets it. But this one down here, it falls down and stops right down there. So it's a mirror effect. Now, what about other crosses in the area? You see it coming up, butting up, and then nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, one more over here. Not exactly happening very well. My theory's falling apart with that one, but this you find it at least 4 times. Let me go to 2D and make it north because I'm getting all confused. I'm all giddy because I've discovered it, you know. But if you see anything in a Jimmy video that talks about this next, then I'm gonna have to get paid. Okay, so this one does it, right? That's another one. So how many do we have so far? These are the 2 main ones, right? We got the east main and the west main. I think we found one right here. And I think we saw one over here a minute ago, but I could be wrong. I think there's one happening here. It just comes right up to and stops. Nothing on the other side, and then you have a parallel. So when it comes to natural occurrence, natural phenomenon, this is where I really question Mr. Harris, Dr. Harris, and I would love to get him to explain that one away.
That they would break
or
in
anybody
some way where they would be consistent on the other side too. Like even if it broke, you would think it would not go straight through.
Well, and I think that they're starting and stopping. Like I was saying here, this little thing here. I drove over that. I took the video. I would have loved to camp out and just spend a week here. And I could do it. I would go to the Rashad structure again and just hike, or I'd probably grab rides, or I'd rent a car when needed. But I'd love to just walk and take pictures of this area too. I mean, look at that. It stops here, it stops there, just like, and I hate to point it out, in a way, just like this picture here, but maybe a little bit. Actually, I believe they're about the same size. They seem to be going in 2 different directions. I mean, if you were to say, what direction is this going in? Was it heading west? Was it heading east? Well, whatever you say, this is the opposite.
Yeah, I agree.
It stops over here. It maybe there could have. This one doesn't look like it wanted water to go over. It was stopping water, but it was the technique of laying it out. This is the maker's mark. This is the smoking gun. Especially this little angle here. You've got 3 straight lines, but this one, let's go over here. What's happening here? Is it going up and over? Or is it a meet and then it starts again right there? Or I honestly don't know. I mean, this one's quite interesting. It looks like it's going down to allow water to go through. Is it water control? I didn't really go over here. I got out of here. I went up north and I ended up in the city that I was like, oh, damn, this city? I was started up in Walsenburg. And for some reason, I was tired. I was ready to get out of there. And I don't remember what I did next, but I guess I still had a few hours of sunlight. But I was kind of exhausted.
You went and examined what you did, because that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, my phenomena, is that another example of it? And what's going on here, you know, like the little tweak here and a little tweak there. And is that a riverbed or is that just a pathway? Yeah, I don't know what to say. And I hope, look, I'm not looking to be like, now I found this, I should be famous and get a peace prize. And honestly, we need to work together and we need to share information and we need to try to support one another. I'm looking for a new tribe in my life. And I think I want to just get I've got a couple different vehicles, and the blue truck, it's actually a Ford Explorer. That's not really one that's good for sleeping in. I could camp out of it, but sometimes it's not convenient. You want to be able to just stop the vehicle and sleep sometimes.
Is that the big wall? Yep.
The big wall is the north-south wall that I keep talking about. I don't know why it keeps tweaking. when you get in the middle of the screen, it pretty much does it and go 2D. This is, yeah. And I'd love to go visit that. And these tweaks, they've intrigued me. There's one here. And where's that other one at? I guess I saw it over here somewhere, but I can't remember where that was. If you see a tweak, let me know. I grabbed it and I forgot to write down forgot to copy and paste the location. Is that a tweak there? I thought it was on one of the main ones. Yeah, I think like that kind of looks like one right there.
Crazy, David. It's so awesome that you found this many of them. I didn't even know about these.
Yeah, hundreds, right? And you really should compare it with South Africa. South Africa is really where I would say I can see with my eyes that it's intelligently designed.
Well, now I'm wondering, are they on every continent? Like, what are we looking at?
Oh yeah. Look, we're doing it. Anthony too. He's got his videos. He's been showing them in Saudi Arabia. So all the countries have them. I can show you. Yeah, let me show you some in South America. Just a second. Before we navigate away, I wanted to show you. Let me go north. Let me get this all straight. Yeah, because there's also some in Argentina that you should see right now. So here, this is the ones that I just showed you. Okay, I'm looking here right next to it. There's a bunch in this mountain as well, Silver Mountain. And there's stories of gold. There's stories of giants. There was a story that's sad that Spanish explorers killed a bunch of Native Americans after they showed where the gold was. And that story's on all the signs. And out here in this area, wait, where are we? Yeah, kind of like by the 25, right where the 25 goes through, there's a bunch of other straight lines. I've kind of on my Was This Atlantis page documented them.
Okay. So David, thank you so much.
Yes.
Awesome.
I just hope to get the word out, because I'm not going to live forever. And I just hope that the day I die, that it's not all forgotten.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like I mean, it's not like we created this stuff. It's here. Look at it. Go look at it. Help us.
Yeah, it's here. And I'm not going to say, oh, it's Anunnaki. It's giants. But when I say
I don't really know what it
is.
But what it is it's not just us and it's not just nature. It's something weird.
Yeah, it's not just nature. Something was going on. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like any overarching theory ends up being tries to, I don't know, doesn't encompass everything, and everything's trying to encompass everything, so it's kind of hard
to encompass everything.
Yeah,
you can't. I think it all looks much older in North America than what you see in South Africa. It looks older here.
Yeah,
we can't hide all this stuff anymore. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Sage Wall is a good wake up call.
Yeah, and so is like all of the Spanish peaks and the dikes, and
Sage Wall looks megalithic, maybe not perfectly polygonal. The super old stuff, then the stuff that we see that's polygonal, and then we see the more inferior so-called Inca stone. And that's kind of like what I saw in New Mexico, what I would call more, I don't want to say inferior because it's bad.
Don't say inferior because then that's a hierarchy of it. Plus it's like, I mean, I don't know.
So not inferior, but
we're looking
different
at different ages of men or something.
Right. I think the old stuff is what we're seeing in Sage Wall. And then what the dikes are, I think that's even older and more mysterious.
Yeah, me too. So thank you so much, and we will have you on again.
Yeah, we've talked a long time.
Okay,
have a good one.
Bye. Okay,
see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.